Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 10th, 2013 meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen and Sewer Commissioners. We actually began the meeting at 6 o'clock, went immediately into executive session so that we could discuss contract matters or litigation where public discussion of those matters would have been detrimental to the interests of the town. Could we have the roll call again, please?
Present. Present is Selectman Teitelbaum, Selectman Whiteside, Selectman Slavin, Selectman Teitelbaum, Town Administrator Derek Sullivan is outside.
You said Tropiano. Say Tropiano.
Tropiano.
You didn't say Tropiano.
You said me twice.
You said
Oh, I did. I'm getting old. And Town Attorney Rich Bowen.
Okay, we'll skip over announcements for now. We have a very important matter on the agenda. This is under town business under 8B. And Clerk Slavin, will you please read that item?
Vote to accept gift of the HMS Nimrod attack mural from Josephine Toms.
Is Ms. Toms present? Come forward, please.
What an awesome job.
On behalf of the town of Wareham, thank you very much for your gift. It's a lovely painting, and once you're done going around accepting the congratulations and thanks of the board, I wish you'd tell us a little bit about how it came to be. Please do.
So much.
Derek, will you set her up with a microphone? I guess Madam Moderator is Master of Ceremonies tonight, too, so we'll bring her up.
Yes, she started it. She found a large canvas in a place that someone had discarded it to be used over again. And so she called me up, right like this. I can't look at anyone, right? It's funny because she found this. She knew I was a painter and that I was coming for the summer. By the way, I've been coming here for more years than any of you have lived. I was born in 1922 and I came in 24. I've been coming every year since to my family home in Onset. Well, anyway, so I have been a painter all those years. She knew that I would do something this summer. I usually paint on set. I have a whole series called, that were to show off Onset as a beautiful place. And everything I painted about Onset was from where anyone could stand. The beauty of this town is it's open. I'm from Annapolis. Nothing is open. You can't put your foot in the water anywhere. And, well, anyway, she found this canvas, so she called her son, who has a truck, and you can see the size of it, and what to do. She called me up. I said, well, put it in my house, but put it in a place where nobody will walk on it. I have a lot of grandchildren. So she put it under my bed. Well, here I am coming to Onset, what to do with my life. I've painted everything there is in Onset, and now anyone who wants a picture of Onset has this. And all they have to do is stand where everyone can stand in that beautiful town, and they have a painting. So I'm out of business painting Onset. So my friend who isn't here, Constance, who lives next door, had an interview with Mrs. Claire Smith, and was impressed with the fact that these wonderful things are going on next summer, and they're going to reenact the invasion of the Brits. By the way, after the Brits got through burning Wareham, they went down and burned the capital of the United States. So they were practicing here, it looks like, you know. And so I go to the library, and I get this. Where did I put that little piece of paper? It's right there. That orange paper? Yeah. Anyway, went to the library, and I got prints of the arrival of the Brits at the, what's the name of that place again with all the rocks? The God, I knew I'd forget it. At any rate, this is the only thing I worked from. Here's the little guys, here's the men, and here are the boats arriving. And I got it a print from the library, and I immediately got going. I am a mural painter, among other things, and it's still an illustrator for the state of Maryland, so I could pretty well illustrate anything that I could see. But unfortunately, the things I saw were reenactments, and I assumed those are British, and those are British coming ashore, and there's certainly is a British flag, and then there's the Nimrod out there letting them in. And they burned the town. And what you're looking at in the foreground are the sloops. They burned so many sloops, some of them belonging to Falmouth shipyards, and they burned, you can see they burned the cotton mill. And if you look closely, you can actually see a mill wheel on the left of it and a little tiny stream of water going off into the distance. And next to that is the Tremont Nail Factory with a bomb landing into the roof. It didn't go off. And we have the boats coming in with more men. It's a rich history. And this is a my fantastic acceptance of this simple matter that they came in, they shot a lot of stuff, they burned a lot of stuff, and they were bad guys. That's. Thank you very much. I'm so proud. I am more proud, and I'm to have this here because I have 22 descendants that are going to inherit the Onset house. They'll all be voters, and they'll be citizens of Wareham. Thank you.
Okay, now comes the next and final step in the process of accepting the gift. We have to, in accordance with the general laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, vote to formally accept the gift. So may we have a motion to do so?
Motion so made.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 400. Thank you for your gift. Perhaps the board would like to have a picture with Ms. Toms in front of her painting? Well, we don't want to block the view. We'll stand off to the side.
Okay, moving on.
We have a public hearing at 7:15 Cranberry Lane as laid out, public way.
Good evening.
Hi, gentlemen. My name is Dennis Masetta. I'm one of the principals in the group that put the road in, and we are here to formally ask them.
Yes, you have to lean. You almost have to swallow the thing. They don't pick up very well.
I'm here to formally request that the road be accepted by the town. I believe you have copies of the layout done by the engineer and meets and bounds. This project was originally accepted and completed, we thought, by the planning board back in 2010. At the time, there was no town engineer on staff or duty. Mr. Gifford came out and inspected the road and signed off on the project that had been completed the way it was supposed to. We had an as-built plan done at that time. That went to the planning board. They accepted it. We assumed at that point that it would be put on the warrant. I think that was the procedure back then. Then there was some back and forth between who and how and when, and I guess we're hopefully nearing the end of that process tonight.
Okay, well, thank you for coming forward. We'll need a motion to open the public hearing itself.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. The public hearing is now open. Is there anybody who'd like to come forward and speak to this matter? Good evening. Oh, we need you to sit down and speak directly into the microphone, please, so that the people out in TV land can pick up on what you're saying.
My name is Diana Thompson, and I live on Cranberry Lane. And right now, I have my grandchildren living with me, and my grandson is special needs, and we need the bus to be able to get up there to pick him up for school. We have done everything that we were told to do to make this road legal. So we're really hoping that this will please go through. It's very, very important.
Okay, I'll actually ask Attorney Bowen to step up and just briefly for the viewing audience and also the people in the room, if you could give us sort of the 10-cent quick outline of what this process entails and how tonight is just the first step.
I want to
Okay.
sit next to her.
Why, thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of the public, there are a few basic steps. Step one is that the petitioner come before the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen hear the request, and then having heard the request, the Board of Selectmen may vote a notice of intention to lay out a way. So the actual notice would be, I move to vote a notice of intention to lay out the way. Now, having done that, and if that's approved, the matter then gets referred to the planning board for the technical study of the way. And the planning board will do all basically the engineering work. That's not something that typically the Board of Selectmen gets involved in. And the planning board has 45 days to review the materials, the condition of the road, whether the plans are adequate, and so forth. By the end of 45 days, the planning board reports back to the Board of Selectmen its findings. You know, the road is in good condition and acceptable, or the road is in bad condition and unacceptable, or the road would be okay if A, B, and C were done to it. At that point, the Board of Selectmen reconvenes the street acceptance hearing and either votes to approve a layout of the road or votes not to approve the layout of the road. If the layout of the road is approved, the board, when it votes to approve the layout, the matter then is taken up at town meeting for what is known as a street acceptance vote. Technically, town meeting is not accepting the street. Town meeting is accepting your layout of the street. That's the process in a nutshell.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Selectman Slavin?
As this process is a little new, as far as following through, it's been done a couple different ways. The planning board was notified a little in advance this was happening because we're trying to get this on for the fall town meeting. So I believe that the Board of Selectmen are going to have to write a warrant article for this. The reason I question is if it's going to be a citizen's article, it has to be written by the 13th, and we're not going to have a determination.
Yes, it sounds as if it's going to be on the warrant, it would have to be a board article.
Okay.
Well, with that in mind, then a simple placeholder would be sufficient. with a proper description to follow.
I would ask that we make sure that we send a notice tomorrow to the planning board. I believe Mr. Rowley has already been informed he has some work to do.
Okay. Is there anybody else to speak during the public hearing portion of this?
We need to continue the hearing. Because you can't close it. Yeah, someone has to make a motion.
First, we'll have a motion to accept the petition.
I move that we accept the petition for the,
Sending all the way.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
Typically, you close the hearing first.
That's fine.
You can't close the hearing. You can't close the hearing, Patrick, until we get the answer back from the planning board.
Right. We have to continue the hearing until after we hear back from planning, at which time we'll look at the planning's report during the continued hearing and then vote to go forward from there.
Okay, I'm going to try it again. I vote that we accept the petition from the Cranberry Lane Homeowners Association respecting the acceptance of Cranberry Lane as a public way.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Thank you for coming forward. The next step will be for the planning board, as Attorney Bowen explained, to review it. They'll get back to us. We'll continue the hearing to a later date to be determined with notice to you, and we'll go from there. Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
Motion to continue the hearing to a later date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Let's see. I think we might have time now to
We have about 6 minutes.
bounce back to the announcements quickly. Are there any citizens here to speak to anything tonight? We have a few, but we're going to have to hold off on this because we've got another hearing scheduled at 7:30. I hate to keep people waiting when they just came to say hopefully a short piece, but I don't want to get screwed up on the timing here. Why don't we do the announcements first, then see where we are?
Mr. Tropiano,
I have none.
Mrs. Whiteside.
I only have one. I was invited to take part in a play at the library, sponsored by the Friends of the Wareham Free Library. I believe Mr. Oswald and Mr. McDuffie are also going to be characters in this murder mystery. So, it's in late October. Come see if I fluff my lines. There will be refreshments served, and I'm looking forward to it. So if you think you have a theatrical bent, volunteer.
I have one announcement. The Wareham Historical Society will commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Civil War with a program on September 16th, 2013, 7 p.m. at the Methodist Meeting House, 495 Main Street, Wareham. Admission is for members is free, non-members is $2. Thank you.
I just have a couple of things. Tomorrow is the 12th anniversary of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. In that regard, I'd like to have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. The next thing I have to say is that Selectman Holmes regrets that he can't be with us tonight because for business reasons, but he wanted to pass on that he is continuing his tour of Wareham businesses. He recently visited Ann's Antiques in Onset, which according to him has some really nice things, and he also dined at Captain Al's on the deck. Said he enjoyed the food very much, and the place was packed and it was a great environment. So kudos to those businesses who were visited by Selectman Holmes.
Ask if we have someone who only needs 3 minutes to speak to us.
Is there somebody who could, for citizens' participation, who could say what they have to say in basically 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Good evening.
Evening, Pat.
What brings you before us tonight?
I just wanted to let you know, as well as the public out there watching the Selectmen's meeting, that I have started the petition to accept Mass General Law, which will allow the town of Wareham to use their funds to plow the private roads. And that's really all I'm saying. I'm collecting all the signatures. I started it early because the election is April 1st, otherwise known as April Fool. And it is. And I wanted to get an early start because I have to get all the signatures. So I'm looking for registered voters in the town of Wareham who will sign the petition.
Do you have any contact information where people can get a hold of you and make arrangements to?
Yes, they can. They can watch me on Good Morning Wareham on WCTV, or so they can pop over at the studio. My show is over at 9 o'clock. I also live in West Wareham at 6 Helen Street, and my telephone number, get your pencils, is 508-295-3518.
So again, that was 508-295?
3518.
Okay,
And I'm in the book. And my
Okay.
name is Pat Rumney.
great. Thank you very much.
Did I do the 3 minutes?
Yes.
No, you
Two.
were very brief. In fact, we might have time for one more if they're going to be quick.
Yep. We have one more.
Lady with the hand raised. Right, you, yeah. Good evening.
My name is Millie Burrows, and I'm here with Eleanor Martin from the Onset Bay Association, basically just to give you a heads up of something that we're planning for next summer. You may have seen some of it in the newspaper or on flyers around Onset Village. It's for a street painting festival that we hope will coordinate on the day of Illumination Night, if that works out with the tides and the moon and all other powers. It's meant to be a community involvement activity. We'll hopefully have some featured artists that will draw tourists and families to Onset for the event. The funding will be minimal. We'll be seeking some grant funding for that, as well as sponsors. And we've already met with Kevin Walsh from the police department to talk about where that might take place. We're looking at the bandshell area, the walkways around that have concrete squares, as well as the first rise in the hill of Union Avenue from Onset Ave up to the top of the bandshell area, and the tennis courts. So police detail would be minimal. It would be within the scope of the staffing that they already have, barring any cuts to that. So we just wanted to let you know, and maybe we'll come back when it's closer to the event to give more details if you'd like that, and when we have them.
Pardon? Mr. Sullivan,
You may want to say hello to Mr. Menard in the back on the way out from municipal maintenance. He's always a good contact
yes, he's on my
about
list.
these.
he's on your list?
Put a face again.
Well, there you go.
Thank
Sometimes
you.
things work together.
Thank you.
If you could, we have a form at the Selectmen's office for the
Yes.
events.
Yep.
The earlier you fill it out, the easier it will be to put it all together.
As soon as we know the date, I'm waiting for the harbor master and the people that coordinate illumination to let me know the date they picked. All I know right now is they're looking at July. They need to get the lowest tide.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but
you.
basically, there'll be certain things you're gonna need anyways, even before you get the date, so it'd be good to start the process.
Yeah, if you
early.
look at the form, that'll tell you where you need to go. It's very instructive in terms of who you got to see, what sign-offs you need, and that sort of thing. Even without the exact date, it'll help you in your planning going forward. So I
okay.
think that's why Selectman
Okay,
Slavin
thank you.
suggested that. Seems to be arts night at the Board of Selectmen tonight, doesn't it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up.
7:30, we have public hearing for Murphy's Towing.
Move we open the public hearing for Murphy's Towing.
Second. Motion made and seconded.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Tropiano and seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
There's nothing here at all.
Good evening. You're wishing it were still afternoon, aren't you?
It's been one of those days. My name is Attorney Patrick Matthews. I represent Murphy's Towing,
Could you talk into the microphone, please?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And their request to be placed on the towing rotation list for the town. I don't know if you're aware of the background of this issue, but Murphy's had been on the list for placement for several years. Back in 2008, an opening appeared when one particular towing company asked to be removed. At that time, Murphy's requested to be placed on the list. The chief at the time, I believe it was Chief Joyce, had recommended to the board that he be placed on the list, and at that time he was not placed on the list. I believe at the time the rotational list was 7 towers at the time, towing companies to service the town, and I believe now it's down to 4. I'm sure the town's aware that the board's aware that there's been litigation over this for some time, and that the courts basically remanded us back here for the hearing that we're here tonight for. By way of background, obviously, I think everybody would be aware of the company. The company does tow in the area, does tow for individuals in the town and all the neighboring towns. In fact, I have for the board, if you want to give them to these, I have some letters from neighboring towns.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have some letters from neighboring towns, from their police chiefs, towns that Murphy's is on the list for, the town of Marion, town of Rochester Police Department, also Mattapoisett Police Department. I didn't include any in here, but in addition to that, they're also on the state police towing and recovery list. They're on the AAA list. They're on the all-state list. They're all the people who work for their company are highly trained. They have what they're known as a Wreckmaster Certification 6-7, which teaches you how to do the proper towing and recovery of vehicles. They have a wide variety of equipment that could help the town in many situations if the vehicles become disabled. They have hydraulic. All their people have hydraulics licenses. They all have received trainings. Mr. Murphy's son has been trained as an incident commander. He's also attended the police academy. The equipment that they have flatbeds. They have 3 flatbeds. They have 35-ton low bed. They have front-end loaders. They have forklifts. They have everything they need to do the job. And there's really no reason why I think that they should be excluded from the list. Certainly, if the list was at one time 7, it's down to 4. It can accommodate another company on the list. And so we're asking at this time that they be admitted to the rotational list.
Well, first off, does anybody in the audience wish to come forward and speak to this application?
Hi, I'm Vaughn Wedge, 88 Onset Avenue, also Vaughn's Towing. I believe this has come before the board before, and the problem is that Mr. Murphy's business isn't in Wareham. I believe the town made a moratorium that there wouldn't be any other tow companies after the 4th with the chief that was here before. I understand Murphy's has equipment and they have tow rights and they have state police and other town police. And we have 4 tow companies here in town now that have all that stuff. I mean, I would hope that the town's fathers who already voted, and now here we are again on the same situation, and it was turned down already, that, you would follow up on the past town's fathers on the situation that we have. He's not in our town. We vote for you. We put you in office. We should be protected as business people in our town with our town. That's how I feel. I mean, it's the bottom line. This has been voted on. This has already been turned down, denied. And I understand there's some pressure, and I understand the town's position. But, again, it's been voted on once. How many times are we going to come back and do this? You know, we've had decisions on this matter. You have 4 other tow companies in this town that have done a fine job in this town for years. We all live on the town. We all have businesses in the town. You're going to just water down the soup more. It's not even enough for what we have here now. I believe the chief came in last time and said that if there was another tow company that got off the list, he wouldn't even put another one on because there's not enough now. You know, I just think it's what we have in this town for our businesses in this town covers this town fine. I don't think there's any other need for any other service in this town. And again, I hope that you will make your decision based on the vote that's already been at hand. It's been on this table before. The same thing. What's changed? You know, you're taking into my livelihood. You're taking into J&R's livelihood. These people support our town. Depot, Mark's Auto Service. I mean, there's got to be a place in the town for the people that work in the town and support the town. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Gentleman with his hand up.
Could I just address that, that concern about that issue? And here's Manny D. Miranda, but I think, I don't know if you know where the business is located. Murphy's is located in Rochester, but right on County Road. Literally, the mailbox to the business is in Wareham. The mailing address is West Wareham. In addition to that, way back when we started this whole thing, they had arranged to lease a property, a yard, in Wareham, so that there would be a business presence in the town, so that they could tow, to accommodate people who had their vehicles towed and whatnot, so they wouldn't have to go to a neighboring town, that they would be there. And I'd like to just say and Mr. Bowen's here, he can speak to the issue, but my client tows in many other towns, and the towns don't have requirements generally that you have to be located within that town. That kind of exclusion is normally not part of most towns' rules and regulations. And I'm not sure if it's part of the town's bylaws myself, but maybe Mr. Bowen can speak to that. But I know Mr. Miranda is aware of the situation. D. Miranda.
Yes, so introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi. My name is Manuel D. Miranda, owner and operator of Discount Auto Collision Center in Wareham for 18 years. When we went for the tow 4 years ago, the chief approved Murphy's to tow out of Discount Auto Collision Center. And they turned him down because he didn't live in Wareham. He's leasing my garage. He's leasing an office in my garage. He's leasing my impound yard. And I lost revenue for the last 4 years because the town turned him down to tow here. I have 5 pieces of property in Wareham that I pay taxes for. And I don't think it's fair that the town would not let him tow out of my business, that I've been there for 18 years, and we work hard, and I have all these taxes to pay, and it all comes from 2648 Cranberry Highway. So it's really not fair for the town. After the chief of police gave him approval to tow in the town of Wareham, I lost 4 years of revenue at Discount Auto Collision Center. We went through a recession. I stayed alive. I struggled. I mean, there's 6 or 7 people that work at Discount Auto Collision Center. We need to make ends meet at Discount Auto. And when the town turned him down, it hurt me. And I have to pay taxes every single year here, and I'm struggling to pay it. I always pay it, and it's really not fair. I think it's time now that he should be put on the tow in Wareham. We have the garage, we have the space, we have the impound yard, and we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
At this point, I would ask Attorney Bowen just to come up briefly. I have a couple of questions. I think the board might as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I guess my first question is a two-part one. Can a town, in the process of selecting its tow operators, set a preference or a restriction to having only businesses located within that town eligible for consideration?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, like any good lawyer, I'm going to answer that two ways. I would begin by pointing out that the police tow policy, which is in effect, and you might want to take administrative notice of that policy, does provide, and this is the chief's policy, any towing business on the duty list shall be located in the town of Wareham, and all vehicles will be stored within the town unless otherwise authorized by the department. So I'll just reread it. Towing business on the duty list shall be located in the town, and all vehicles will be stored within the town unless otherwise authorized. And so just in examining the tow policy, one question that would be before the board with respect to this applicant would be whether it has a location in town where the vehicles would be stored. So that's a question strictly within the limits of your tow policy. Now, on the broader question of residency requirements, if you will, there's been a lot of litigation over those issues in the past. I suspect that depending on the way that the board votes on this one, there may be more such litigation going forward, which Attorney Matthews and I will fight it out. What Attorney Matthews will say is, and Patrick, if I get it wrong, you stop me. What Attorney Matthews will say is that this is a civil rights violation, perhaps even a violation of interstate commerce and so forth. And what I will say in return is that when it comes to questions of public safety, that the courts have upheld residency requirements, and that because this is in the nature of a public safety function, it would be appropriate to have a certain proximity to the town in order to be able to speedily respond to emergencies. Those are the two sides, I think, of the argument.
I think so too. And I would indicate to you, though, with regard to that, I think that even your own policy indicates unless otherwise permitted by the chief. I think that and I think it recognizes that it's not an outright prohibition, that it would be recognized. And in this particular case, the chief at the time appeared before this board and recommended that Murphy's be added to the list. In addition, you just heard from Mr. D. Miranda, who indicated that he has a lot, the location where it would be used. By the way, the company that left the list, that opened up for Mr. Murphy's company, was the same exact location where it would be where Mr. D. Miranda's property was. I think Chips. So I think that even if there is a requirement, I would say to you, I believe that requirement is satisfied in two ways. One is my client is putting a place, it will have a place in town where things can be stored. Two is that I think the chief had indicated at the time that he was in favor of it.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may follow on. So I had suggested that you take administrative notice of the tow policy, just for purposes of the record. I also recommend that you take administrative notice of the towing file and Murphy's previous applications, just so all that material is properly before you as you go through it and make up your mind.
Well, just to that point, Attorney Bowen, we don't seem to have a whole heck of a lot here. And at this point in time, after we do take the administrative notice that you suggested, I think we may find it necessary to continue the hearing. The other thing I'd like to hear from is, notwithstanding that a former chief may have expressed support, I'd be interested to hear what the current chief or his designee would have to say on the point, because that to me is more germane than what somebody might have said, a few years ago, with all due respect. The former chief is now in a different town doing a different thing, and he's really no longer an interested party to this application. So with that in mind, unless the board has some additional questions, either for the applicant or for Attorney Bowen, I believe we do have the form of motion that has been recommended to take the correct administrative notice.
I move to take administrative notice of the police department tow policy, formal votes of the Board of Selectmen, and the Murphy's tow filings.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Selectman Tropiano.
Move to take administrative notice of the police department tow policy, formal votes of the Board of Selectmen, and Murphy's tow filings.
Use the mic, please.
What's the purpose?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, typically in a hearing of this nature, it runs in two parts. Number one, you have the evidentiary hearing. The applicant is here to present his application. You've taken testimony from such members of the public who've wanted to speak to you. The police department was made aware of this hearing. And once you've received enough evidence, and that could be either today or through the end of a continued session, you would move to close the evidentiary hearing. At that point, you would have an opportunity to review the evidence that was submitted, the files that you've taken administrative notice of, the tow policy. Suggests that at that point, if the applicant wished to submit a brief to you, certainly that would be in order, although I'm not trying to make extra work. And I work on the flat fee, so it's, you know.
Do I have to have it in tomorrow?
No. His client is glaring at you right now, so just
Yeah,
so you know.
all right, well, you know, but so that you have a time to properly consider it, and then you come back, not at a public hearing, but as an agenda item, and take your vote on the evidence that you've had a chance to review, because it's tough to just...
Yeah, and again, we are missing the application. It wasn't part of our file. So I really, to be honest with you, our board doesn't even really have that most basic of information before us upon which we could even fairly render a decision. So
I just want to let you know, if there's anything in the application that needs to be updated, we're more than willing to, present it, because, I mean, I know public safety is the bellwether here, and whether or not there's any kind of insurance that needs to be updated, Corey checks, anything of that nature, my client's willing to do it.
Selectman Tropiano?
Is this a remand hearing? So this has been remanded by the court back to us for a hearing?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, so why is the stuff not here?
Can't answer that.
Good question. We'll get you an answer.
I would think that if this is remanded by the court, that we should handle this in a timely manner, and we can't be not having this paperwork and things that we need to make these decisions. This should all be here.
No, it's a fair point, but again, I don't want to jeopardize anybody's rights by trying to render a decision without having that before us. The last thing we want is a second remand from a court and after a second action. So I'd rather delay it and try to get it administratively correct.
Obviously, we have to. The paperwork isn't here,
Right.
but we've got to do a better job.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, we have a motion before us to recognize the prior administrative matters. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Your advice, Attorney Bowen, would be to continue the public hearing at this point?
I would continue the evidentiary hearing to whatever date. Well, of course, I want to make sure you're available. Mr. Chairman, how long would you be thinking?
I'd want to get this done within the next couple of weeks. I don't want to delay any longer on this.
Next week we can.
But the 24th?
I believe I'll be around.
24th.
Either myself or somebody from my office.
Okay, why don't we resume at 7:30 on the 24th?
That's fine. That's fine.
We have a motion to continue the evidentiary hearing
Motion
until
to continue-
7:30 on the 24th.
Motion
Second.
continued for a date certain of the 24th.
Second.
Okay, anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400. It's continued. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
Do you want to take
See you, Manny.
the two license permits? Just need some
Yes.
reps out here.
And then we're going to do Derek.
Yeah. We're going to continue moving out of sequence. We will get to citizens' participation, even though I try and
Yes, thank you for
kill
your
it each
patience
week.
and indulgence here. I've got a
Uh,
partial board. One of them doesn't feel well. The other's got to take off at 8:30, so I'm trying to juggle things and get the critical business done first.
We'll take the Dudley Brown post. Thank you.
Good evening, board members.
How you doing? Good to see you again.
Thank you.
We have a request before us from Dudley Brown Post 2846 VFW 4 Gibbs Ball Park Road, Onset, for an event on September 15th from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Rain date September 22nd, to be held at the Onset VFW Pavilion. The only stipulation is no alcoholic beverages to be consumed on town property.
Yes, this event is called the Rick Graham Diabetes Ride. It's our 5th year at our park, and all the funds for diabetes. It's been a good cause and well-attended event.
I have all the proper paperwork in place here.
Okay? Any questions from the board?
I'll move approval if you want. Or
I'll make a motion to go ahead and give the Dudley F. L. Brown Post 2846 VFW for Gibbs Ballpark Road, Onset, event on September 15th, 2013 from 1 to 9 p.m. Rain dates is September 22nd, to be held at the Onset VFW Pavilion. Stipulation, no alcoholic beverages to be consumed on town property.
second.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 300. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Professional bartenders, anybody here? No?
What do we have? Another,
Yeah,
another one day.
Another box mill.
Another box mill.
I have all the correct paperwork here. I'll make a motion for professional bartender service for an event on Friday, September 27th, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. to be held at Box Mill Hall, 158 Tohono Road, Wareham, Mass.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All the paperwork appears in order.
Yes.
Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400. Mr. Sullivan would like to...
I signed.
Yeah, come on up. I was wondering why you were staring at me. Now I know why you're here. Thanks.
Thank you. I didn't vote on it.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'll make this short and sweet. My name's Officer Brian Whalen. I'm with the Wareham Police Department, and I'm just touching on behalf of the liquor license that you just approved. Just to give you a basis on what's going on, one of our officers, 27-year veteran, he's been battling cancer now for almost a year and a half now, and unfortunately it's come terminal. And this is, we're doing a Flugel event. It's going to be at the 80 Makepeace Hall. I gave you guys some invitations. If you guys are around that day, join us. We have almost $6,000 worth of raffle prizes that we're going to be raffling off. All the proceeds with the event are going to go to Paul and his family. So the more the merrier. The more people are there, the more money that's going to be able to assist him and his family. He does have four kids, so, and that's what we're doing it for. If you have any questions, by all means, I'm here.
Questions from the board?
No, thank you for doing this, guys.
Nope.
This is awesome.
That's what we're here for, and like you said, I'm here on behalf of the police department, the police union, and the Wareham Police
Paul's
Association.
been around here a long time. He's a great guy, and I know he's having a tough time, so.
Great guy.
I think it's.
So,
We'll make sure that we announce it over the next couple of weeks as well.
thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for
Thank you.
coming forward, and thank you for planning this.
Okay, back to citizens' participation. I can't avoid it this week, I guess.
Any more citizens? Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ken.
My name is Kenneth Levitt, 157 Cremesett Road in Wareham. I'm here because of the action you took on August 20th on my sewer abatement. It was because of a screw up with the Wayland television channel. I wasn't able to see the meeting until today. On August 20th, you voted to deny my request for a sewer abatement. Weeks prior to that date, on July 12th, myself and my neighbors requested in writing that we be notified when the hearing would take place, and you chose to ignore our request. I view this as poor public performance by my elected officials. In watching the video, it appeared to me that none of you had read all the materials in advance, because there was no discussion of most of what was in my abatement request. I spent days researching and refining this request so it would be clear and present a number of issues to you that were involved, but you seem to only think about or talk about one of the many issues, that being the letter to Mr. Blagden. At one point during the hearing, I believe one of you mentioned that if you had frontage on Cremesett Road, there was no question you had to hook up to the sewer. But that's clearly not the case for the houses across the street on Twins Beach Lane, who all have frontage on Cremesett Road and were not required to hook up. The town council stated that the letter to Mr. Blagden did not apply to us because the letter wasn't sent to us. Yet on February 25th, 2010, I spoke with Mr. Simmons on the phone and documented this phone call, and he confirmed that we were covered under the letter to Mr. Blagden and that we did not have to hook up. So there was direct contact between Mr. Simmons and myself, not just the letter to Mr. Blagden. I am surprised that the town council missed this information in my submission. In my statement, I raised 4 specific issues of law, as well as other procedural, technical, and fairness issues. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees citizens the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances and requires the government to honestly respond. By basing the entire discussion on only one single issue, the Selectmen and the Town Council violated their obligations and my rights under the U.S. Constitution. I now ask each of you to conscientiously read and discuss my abatement submissions and hold another vote on my abatement request. I also ask that you vote today to rescind the August 20th abatement denial so as to reset the time clock for us to file a legal appeal, because I just also found out today that we now only have 10 days from now to file an appeal. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Look, I understand you were disappointed in the result, and I can't say that anybody on this board took any joy in that vote. However, especially now where you've indicated to us that you do intend to file a legal appeal, unfortunately, we have to sit here with our lips sealed.
Well, I have not decided if I'm filing an appeal or not, and my major disappointment was in the process, not the vote.
Well, Attorney Bowen appears to have something he wants to say to it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, since my name's been taken in vain, I'll rise to the occasion. Three things. Number one, with respect to the gentleman, the letter was not addressed to him. And number two, any telephonic or face-to-face communications that he had with Mr. Simmons do not rise to the level of a contract. And should you decide to exercise your rights in court, you may want to familiarize yourself with the case of Sancta Maria Hospital versus City of Cambridge, which stands for the proposition that those who deal with public officials must know the authority of the person with whom they deal. Mr. Simmons plainly is not a sewer commissioner, was not acting pursuant to a vote of the sewer commission, and therefore, under the holding of Sancta Maria Hospital, had no authority to bind the town with respect to any representation he may or may not have made to you. With respect to your claim of having your First Amendment rights violated, that most certainly is not the case. And in any event, one of the things, as you will find if you do decide to file suit, is that civil rights violations will not be upheld in situations where there is an adequate remedy at law available to the person who is aggrieved. And as you just stated moments ago, and I'm very glad to have the statement on the record, you understand that you have 10 days within which to file an appeal of the board's decision, and therefore you know of the adequate remedy of law available to you. So there is no violation of your civil rights, including those of the First Amendment. Thank you.
Well,
I still believe that the other issues I raised should have been discussed and evaluated.
no. Thank you for coming forward. We know this is difficult. Anybody else for citizens' participation? Come on up, please.
Good evening. My name is Winadine, and I'm part here, for those of you who don't know me, I'm here representing the Wareham Summer Celebration for next year. We have a fantastic steering committee. We've worked, this is going to be, coming up, it's going to be our third fundraiser. We've done a yard sale. We've also done a boat trip on the Viking, and now we're going to do a cabaret. Linda Calise is going to do a cabaret at Bay Point on Sunday, September the 15th. That's this Sunday from 2 to 5. If anybody has not seen Linda Calise do the cabaret, she is going to bring Broadway to Bay Point. Let me tell you, she is very good. We also have a psychic affair coming up on, on September the 28th. So we're very, very busy. And I'll put this up. And I do have tickets, and they're going very, very fast. So those of you who want them can give any member a call or come up. And if we have any left at the door, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. I thank you.
Thank you, Willa.
Thank you very much. Noting that we have a diminished board tonight that may shrink still further, I'd like to ask the board's indulgence and ask if we could skip over to item 8F on the agenda here. This is a vote on the town administrator's contract. May we have a motion, please?
I move we approve the contract between the town of Wareham and Derek D. Sullivan, dated, well, it'll be dated today, but it goes into effect in January, I believe. And if somebody wants to see a copy of it, it'll be made available.
I will second the motion and just ask you to indicate that it's Derek D. Sullivan as town administrator.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you didn't. You left out the
That's what he meant. We'll go with that. Derek D. Sullivan?
Yeah. Did I leave the D out?
Motion made by Selectman Tropiano and seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Anything on the question? Selectman Slavin?
Just for information, it's a 3-year contract.
Also, just briefly, Selectman Holmes isn't here tonight. I believe he'll be back next week. I know he'd like to speak to it directly. But Selectman Holmes, from the moment that Derek landed, because he was basically the last man standing in the interim's job a year ago, has been very impressed with his performance and has been as big a booster of Mr. Sullivan as anybody on the board. So I do want that fact reflected in our minutes. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight to take part in the vote, but I did want to acknowledge his thoughts and his work in that regard. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. Congratulations. Now, I think we have a couple of people waiting for interviews and appointments.
You want to do the bills or not?
No, we'll hold off on the bill. I want to get people out of here if we can.
We'll start with the library trustees. Rachel, Kuklinski. I'm not even going to try.
Kuklinski.
If I may speak for her.
I was going to say, you don't look like a Rachel.
You may notice I'm not Rachel. I'm Roger Picari. I'm one of the current library trustees. Rachel had to leave not 5 minutes ago due to the rearrangement of the schedule. But she did ask me to pass on to you that if you were wondering why she is interested in the library, one of the reasons, as was noted earlier, that Mrs. Toms went to the library to get her reference material for her painting here, her mural here. And she's a supporter of the library for people to have access to those sorts of things.
Okay. Well, again, Ms. Kuklinski is not here for us to directly interview, but that doesn't mean we can't appoint her. Is there anything anybody'd like to say in that regard? Selectman Whiteside?
Yes, I've known Mrs. Kuklinski for many, many years, and I'm very pleased that somebody of her caliber is interested in joining the trustees.
Make a motion?
Make a motion to appoint Rachel Kuklinski to the Library Board of Trustees with a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Congratulations.
Next is Diane O'Brien.
Have an education tonight.
Yeah.
Only gets better.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So you want to serve on the Library Board of Trustees?
I do.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
I just recently moved here to Wareham in April. I'm an educator in the Taunton school system. I'm an English teacher for grade 12 right now. I served as a member of the board in Taunton at the public library. I'm very interested in helping out at the library. I love the library. I had an opportunity to go to one of the board meetings already, and they're just wonderful people. They're very enthusiastic. They have a lot of great ideas, and I'm looking forward to working with them.
Thank you for taking the time
Thank
of
you.
applying.
Thanks. Anything from the board? Once again, Selectman Whiteside.
Congratulations on teaching 12th grade. What was your summer reading book?
They had a number of choices. The Last Lecture, They love that one. They did Sister Carrie. They had like a selection of 12 that they could choose from.
Okay.
This is something new that they do. They give them, I teach honors classes, and they had 3 books that they had to choose from, from about 20.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Take a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve Diane O'Brien to the Library Board of Trustees to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have a Tony Ann Thatcher. Yeah, I have no date on this form. Also, I have a Linda E. Lopes, but I don't think they're here.
What exactly are you looking at? Because I'm not seeing...
Yeah, I don't see it on mine.
We're not, I'm just seeing the 2 applicants we just appointed.
That's all I have, but I have 2 others that they put in here.
Right.
Okay, we don't have, well,
They're not
I
here.
guess we'll have to hold off on that.
That's it for those.
Okay. Why don't we jump around? Again, we can come back to the...
Want to do the master plan committee get it done?
Well, let's do, who's hanging around waiting for us?
You have,
Well, we have the harbor master.
Harbor Master CPC.
Come forward, please.
This is to vote to approve opening of the temporary closure and adoption of shellfish regulations.
Good evening. Could you explain to us what you're looking for here?
Good evening. Hope you had a nice summer. Basically, this is the Miller Cove area, which is located in Buttermilk Bay. It was reopened a couple of years ago through the work of Division of Marine Fisheries and ourselves to reopen it as a conditional location. It previously had been closed for all of 15 years, if not longer. They agreed because of the quality sampling that they were doing that we were able to reopen this area. Being reopened, we made the determination this year that we would start to try and add stock to the area for cohogs. So we did a 1,000 bushel shellfish relay, which was approved by the Division of Marine Fisheries, and 250 bushel of the 1,000 bushel went to this location. So we had to close it conditionally per order of Marine Fisheries, and they have tested, they have done water quality tests, they've done meat samplings, they've done everything that's required under their guidelines, and they've given us the okay to reopen the area by September 15th, or as of September 15th. So I'm looking for the Board of Selectmen to just approve the reopening of it. I believe you all have the paper I sent out. There's a second attachment, which is what is posted as the additional regulations for this location. It is going to only be open to recreational shellfishing. We do have areas that we also transplanted that's open to commercial, so I'm not taking away additional areas from them because these areas have all been stocked with what we've planted. So we're offering this as a recreational only area. It still falls under a rainfall guideline at 0.25 inches. We do have to shut the area down. We monitor it, and then we can reopen it after the closure period.
Okay, any questions from the board? Take a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
I think we'll need to read this because we have to adopt the regulations. Well, I'll do this quickly. Recreational shellfish area. This is management area number 3 in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 130, Section 52 of Massachusetts General Laws. The Board of Selectmen declares the following described area a shellfish management area subject to special regulations. Management area, Miller Cove. The waters and flats of Miller's Cove in the town of Wareham, southwest of a line drawn from a shellfishing status sign 50 feet south of the storm drain at number 43 Jefferson Shores Road, and continuing to the shellfishing status sign approximately 100 feet north from the end of Saltworks Road. Special regulations, rainfall status, year-round status. To determine the harvesting status of the rainfall management area, call the Shellfish Information Line at 508-291-3100, extension 3184. Number two, shell fishing status information signs as described above will indicate the rainfall management area status. Red is closed to shell fishing, green is open. Recreational permit holders may harvest no more than 1 peck of shellfish per calendar week. No commercial harvesting permitted within this rainfall management area. All other provisions within the rules for the taking of shellfish, eels, and seaworms shall apply.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Anything else on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. It is reopened.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's your pleasure next?
Do we have to sign anything on that one?
No.
Let's see. Mrs. Dunham has been very patient out there, so,
I wouldn't call her patient, but we'll take her anyways.
and she hasn't thrown anything at us yet, so maybe she's waiting to come closer. Why don't we? Oh, we do. Do you want to both come up and hit the first one? Thanks. Good evening.
Good evening. I believe all we have here is just simply a follow-through of the procedure under our policy for the selectmen, that in order for ask for a CPA grant, that the Board of Selectmen has to have a letter of approval for the project to go forward to CPA. It's a pretty simple deal. If you want to explain what it's really an emergency status, because we didn't hear about it till last minute.
Yeah, it's just recently to my attention that the roof on the multi-service center was leaking, and it's actually starting to leak through the electrical outlets in the building. So we're looking to try to get it restored as soon as possible before it gets any worse. The age of the roof is just up to its 20-year. I'm looking to do a 30-year roof on it now and restore it so we don't have to, before it gets any worse.
Questions from the board?
I'll make a motion that we issue a letter of approval for the Municipal Maintenance Department to make a request of, to the Community Preservation Committee for the repair of the roof on the multi-service center.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. We'll get that letter out to you immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to hold you up, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
You want to
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you stay put? You're a captive audience now. Okay, next, Mrs. Dunham item. We've got about 3 of them on here. The 2 of them, I think, are the same thing. Sort of, kind of.
One is Historical Commission, which involves no money, that has to do with changing the bylaw.
Oh, could you speak directly into the microphone before Mr. White yells at you?
Sorry.
Thank you.
The other 2 CPC articles, one is CPC return funds from completed projects. I'm going to pass that over to our treasurer.
Good evening.
Good evening. Reviewing all the existing projects, those that have closed, we find that there is $28,430.66 unspent, and we're asking that it be returned back to our unallocated fund so we can use it for future projects.
Housekeeping article.
I expect that to be. We've done this before in the past.
Questions from the board about it?
Next.
Thank you, Sandy. The second article I have here, or the third actually now for tonight, is the Nature Explorer Outdoor Classroom/Play Area. This was the article from the Wareham Free Library, and I believe Mrs. Medeiros, Library Director, has been here before you.
Yes, as well
this.
as Bethany Gay from the Library
Yes.
Board of Trustees, also in support of it.
So, actually, this would be repetitious for me to go through it because you've already had the
Yeah, we've gotten
presentation.
2 different presentations pretty much on it.
Okay.
That's, yeah, we do have on here as a different agenda item, discussion vote to whether to put submitted articles on the warrant for town meeting, and this was kind of an ongoing agenda item, so that we could sort of pick things off as they came before us. So why don't we back up and go to your first one?
Okay.
And if somebody could make a motion for that.
I'll move that the funds that are in the unexpended category be returned in the CP fund.
To the unallocated.
Unallocated.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
Put it on the warrant. So that's on the warrant. 301. One abstention.
By necessity.
It's not your money.
Could be yours.
And as to the second item, which was the
Nature-
playground,
Yes, Nature Explorer outdoor classroom /
do
play.
we want to
area.
have any discussion about that, or are we prepared to, so that the motion would be whether to put this on the warrant?
Yeah, let's just put it on.
Do we have the motion?
All right, I move we put the playground article on the warrant.
Motion made by Selectman Tropiano. We need a second on the motion.
You have to second it, I can't.
I'll second out of necessity. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
211. That's a majority. It goes on.
Okay.
We're not voting for it, we're just putting it on the warrant.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I want to make it clear that these aren't
Make that
favorable
clear to
action
everybody
votes.
that
Yeah,
that's,
we
you know,
will, sometime in the next month, we'll be actually putting our votes about approval
Exactly.
or non-approval of the
the
actual
town
article.
meeting will be making that decision ultimately.
Right. This was just a vote to let it go forward to the voters, so.
Exactly.
And
And the last one was the roof, the multi-service center roof, right? You were, okay, so those are the three.
no, we didn't vote to put that on the warrant.
Oh, all right.
Right.
We have to, now we
I move we put an article on the warrant.
well, hold, one second before you make the motion. Do you have any correspondence from FinCom in that regard yet?
We're going to be meeting with FinCom tomorrow evening.
Okay.
They're having a special meeting just for that purpose, for
Okay.
multi-service.
Then I would suggest we hold off until next week for that one, just so that they,
We can always put it on the warrant. I mean, it'll be up to them to make the decision. I mean, all we're doing is giving people an opportunity to vote for it one way or the other.
right, but procedurally, what's supposed to happen here is first we vote to allow them to go forward and draft an article. Then FinCom also, this is per a selectman's policy. So I think just to, give
That policy's
FinCom,
gotta go.
it's, well, it's just to give, FinCom its sort of bite at the apple here in terms
They're
of.
going to have their bite of the apple. They're the ones who are going to get to make their opinion on town meeting floor like everybody else. Okay, no problem.
Do it next week.
We'll finish it off next week, that one.
Okay, so
And I'll
those
make
were
a
the
note
three from
to-
CPC. Did you want to discuss the Wareham Historical Commission while I'm up here? Or it's not a money article, it's changing,
We haven't received it here yet. It's probably it probably went to we have a little, upstairs in the office, we have someone taking care of the stuff because Shirley is away. So we don't have it here. They're basically grouping them everything for us for next week. So we don't have it here. I'd rather not sit
Okay.
and make it a decision based on not having paperwork.
We don't have a copy of the,
historical commissions?
that's correct.
Yes.
I
So-
thought I emailed it to all
You
of them.
probably did, but it has to go through the office
I
to
see.
us for here.
To be put on the agenda, and
Okay.
it's not on the agenda, nor do we have a copy of it in our packet.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay. I'm all set then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does that take care of anyone who was waiting to do business with us?
Does David have anything else?
Is there anything else, Mr. Menard, or are you're good? You don't have to stay and watch the rest of this if you don't want. Oh, okay. Okay, next item, we'll go back to the top of the agenda and buzz through the things we didn't get done.
Okay. what else was this?
Sure Attorney Bowen would like to get paid.
Consent agenda. I have a standard monthly bill for Law Officer Richard Bowen, in the amount of $15,000.
Move to pay.
Pay.
Oh, we can't pay that one.
Wait till he does all the work and then shoot him down. I like this.
Make a motion to pay the bill for the month of August for the Laurel.
Selectman Whiteside just did. We had the motion before us. I just need a second.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400.
Yeah.
Okay, next item would be the approval of the minutes from August 20, 2013.
Move that they be accepted as written.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside. Anyone want to second the motion? For the minutes?
I wasn't there.
Well, I guess I'll second out of necessity. Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
abstained.
One abstain.
Patrick, 301. Minutes approved. Selectman Tropiano abstaining.
Number 7A.
Yes.
This is an issue that we've been sitting with for quite a while, setting a timeline for funding source for Contract 2. During the Town Administrator's Report, Item 9A, I would suggest that we wait until the DOR Technical Assistance Review of Water Pollution Control Facility accounts. We're going to vote, if we go ahead and vote to approve that process, that we wait until that information comes to us, and then we make a decision whether we're going to use one of the suggestions, whether it's the money out of the meals tax, or whether we go into the retained earnings account once we know what we actually have and what we can use and not use.
Fair enough. And if we're looking at the agenda, coming up and fairly immediately, we'll be voting to request the Department of Revenue Technical Assistance team to review the Water Pollution Control Facility accounts to provide that information to us, so this all dovetails with that. So once we have that information from DOR, we can once again revisit the process.
Other sewer business, I took some time to go through the selectmen's meetings and the sewer commission meetings for the year of 2009. I also went through all the executive sessions. There is no mention anywhere of the issue that came before us in citizens' participation.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have any other sewer business?
No.
Okay. Next item, please.
Item A is guidance for the town administrator for next year. Mr. Tropiano?
Yeah, it might be.
Mrs. Whiteside?
Selectman Slavin?
Not today.
Okay, we just gave you a contract. Don't screw up.
He'll just put a designee on it anyway.
That's all the guidance I have. Next item, please.
Oh, sorry. I'm still laughing here. We'll get that done. We'll get that done. That done. Assignment of reviewing existing selectmen's policies. This is something that's been going on for, I think within a month after I got elected. We've talked about it. We've probably worked on 3 or 4 total. We don't have a full board here again, but if the board so wishes, I'll pick 2 or 3 and come back next week, give you a number. I don't know if anybody else wants to do the same or not, but we really need to get moving on this. It's been a long time.
Yeah, the desire to have a systematic review, parceling out, and everything else just isn't happening. So I guess we're just going to have to adopt the piecemeal approach here, and hopefully, eventually, we'll hit all our targets. So if selectmen individually wish to do that, and let me know what policies they've reviewed, which ones they would like to have amended, provide draft amended policies for, which ones they think they need to get rid of, whatever. Just let me know by email, and I can put those on the agenda going forward.
I will coordinate with Mr. Slavin, my partner in reading.
Yeah.
Just don't let them. Just don't meet with them at the YMCA.
That's the men's room.
Let's see.
Next is the TDR signed bylaw, marijuana bylaws.
Yes, if you could give us a status update on
I'll give you a
where
quick
these
one.
are.
The TDR, we've gone through, we spent quite a bit of time. It's basically at this point here, Attorney Witten, which is part of the law firm with Mr. Bowen, is going through. Mr. Witten has actually, I believe, either written a book or written a chapter strictly on TDR, hopefully to get this particular bylaw cleaned up as far as explanation and also to simplify the TDR itself. It can be very complex and very daunting, especially for town meeting. Planning board met last night and basically set a public hearing date of October 21st for that. Signed bylaw is basically done. There's been comments, there's been changes. We expect to have the actual final version that's will also go before the 21st. It should be ready on Friday with all the corrections. The marijuana laws, the chairman of the planning board basically chose to have the marijuana clinics in what they call institutional zoning for the town of Wareham, and I would ask that our town council prepare the marijuana dispensary bylaw with that particular designation, and that will go again before the public, see whether they make any changes.
That would be the same hearing date.
Everything is all the same date, October 21st. Planning board is supposed to be in the cafeteria. Probably be 7 o'clock at night, I believe.
Okay. Personally, I want to thank you and Selectman Whiteside for, taking over in the absence of a town planner to try to shepherd these laws through. And of course, first, it takes a lot of work to get them written. And I'm really glad you two have taken the bull by the horns because these are all important things that we need to get done this fall. Any comments from the board about this?
Just as a side, but I'd like to thank very much Brenda Sampson in the planning office. She spent a lot of time, weekends, etc., helping us put this all together.
I would echo Mr. Slavin's comments.
Yes. Okay, thanks for the update. Next item, please.
Status update for Master Plan Committee and PSAC. Master Plan Committee, the reason what's on there is that the driving force for the Master Plan Committee is normally the town planner, which we don't have right now. And I don't know whether we've actually sent out requests to all the different departments for them to assign someone plus the committees. I'm hearing from certain committees that they haven't been informed of the Master Plan Committee and that they need to pick someone. So that has to get done as well. The PSAC, I believe Mr. Sullivan can talk about it during his report. I believe they're going to have a meeting shortly.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Next item, that's item K, that's me. Status of scheduled meetings with the school committee and finance committee. I'm trying to arrange a meeting for next week with Mr. Sullivan, Superintendent Shaver Hood, Chairman Vugan, and Chairman McDonald of the FinCom to sit down and talk about how we're going to schedule things so that on December 15th, Mr. Sullivan is in a position to present a draft budget that, as accurately as possible, reflects what's known about the budget, the income, the expenditures, and everything else in preparation for next year's fiscal year. It's important we do this. It's actually a charter requirement. It's something we discovered last spring when we were hashing out the process. So we're trying to get a bit of a jump on it. I will keep the board apprised of our meetings and what progress is made. Selectman Tropiano?
Just one thing I wanted to say. I'm still not seeing those year-to-date expenditures reports. I haven't seen one.
It was in the last packet that we had. I can email you one.
It wasn't in mine.
Okay.
So if I could get one, I'd appreciate it. We're going to have a monthly? Is that what the plan is?
Yeah, monthly on the expenditure reports and then quarterly on the
thank
revenue.
you.
Okay, yeah, if you could see to it that Selectman Tropiano receives that, so he's up to date. Next item, please.
Any town business not expected in the last 48 hours? Mr. Tropiano?
No.
Mrs. Whiteside?
No.
I passed today.
Don't have anything either.
Town administrator's report.
Thank you. The first thing I'd like to do is thank the board for their consideration and what they've I guess I'm not coming up with the words on this, but the support and their belief in what we're doing. And it's not just myself, but our department heads and the staff that are
Your
doing the jobs. The designees on there. But I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the next 3 years. The next item would be posting of 2 positions. This week we will be posting for the municipal maintenance director. Currently David Menard is sitting as the interim director, and the town planner position will also be posted this week. We are moving that to a full-time position. So you'll see in the town meeting for the transfers, we're going to have to move some money around, but for this town, having a full-time planner, seeing the amount of work that people have had to do because we haven't had a full-time planner, and it potentially falling behind from town meeting, it really sets the town behind, and I think having a full-time planner is very, very much worth it in the long run.
Just to that point, have you mentioned this desire to the FinCom for a full-time planner?
It was during one of the reports we spoke about it. I haven't told them that it's absolutely direction we're heading, but it was one of the recommendations I've made, and while they didn't vote on it, they were expressing support. So I can ask a vote from them, because obviously I wouldn't want to speak for them.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that they were aware of your plan.
The next item was an email that I haven't had a chance to address, and I'm feeling badly about it because it's few and far between that you get an email that you feel good about and makes you happy about some of the decisions you've made. And this was from the Deacon's School principal, Christine Panarese, and it starts, "Hi, Mr. Sullivan. After opening countless boxes and inventorying all of our beautiful new textbooks, I want to take the time to thank you and all of the town's municipal boards for supporting our schools and for making the purchase of these materials a reality for our teachers and students. Knowing what we were working with, and then comparing it to the engaging National Geographic series we now have for our kids, makes me feel so appreciative of this wonderful opportunity for our schools. Please accept my many thanks to you and to all of the members of the Finance Committee and the Selectmen." I thank her for her email.
Yes. Thanks on the board as well. It's very gracious.
And the final item is I'm going to request official vote of the Board of Selectmen to Deputy Commissioner of Revenue Robert G. Nunes to have the Technical Assistance Bureau perform financial review of the Wareham Wastewater Pollution Control Facility.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400.
Their estimated start time is February. There is a line of people in front of us, but they are squeezing us in because actually a $7 million department is a smaller one than they're used to dealing with, so they're willing to put that forward, and I appreciate all their help.
Thank you. Next item?
We still have on the master plan committee that we mentioned before, Donald Jepson here. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have appointments. I'm sorry to have made you wait so long. I hope you found it interesting. Tell us about yourself and why you'd like to be on the master plan committee.
Well, I retired here last year, or moved here last year after retiring. So I'm vested in the town and interested in what's going to happen in the future, and figured the best way to do that is to be involved in it in the planning side.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for Mr. Jepson?
No, I've met Donald before on Marine Resources Information. Thank you for applying.
Okay.
I want to echo the thanks for applying. Really appreciate it.
I'll make a motion for Donald Jepson be assigned to the Master Plan Committee, citizen at large, for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015. This
Second.
will be a 2-year project.
Yeah.
Motion
Second.
made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400. Congratulations and thank you very much for volunteering.
Thank you.
Mr. Tropiano, any liaison reports? No, nothing. Mrs. Whiteside?
Yes, I do. Sorry.
Okay.
Last week you handed me a packet of stuff, or actually I volunteered to research something that you found and said, wasn't being done, the dump, my favorite place. Having been one of the original signers of the agreement with CMAS, I sort of thought it was fun to, full circle this. I'm pleased to report that after meeting with Mr. Ray Pickles, who is the chairman of the committee, that we have been an active member of the Carver, Marion, Wareham Regional Refuse Disposal District since the early 80s. And we have a contract through 2022. We have a contract through 2022. We do have some issues, however. Apparently, one of our members, there are 3 members from each town. One of our members was appointed and subsequently moved from the town. She wrote a letter of resignation to the district, but not to our town clerk. So she doesn't go to the meetings. The one person who has been going to the meetings for 15 years is one of our town employees, Marietta Macucci. And Mr. Pickles said that without her, we wouldn't have had a quorum from Wareham, or ever, really. So I want to thank Marietta for her continued interest in trash. I'm making fun of it, but it really is a very serious business, and she will continue as a member. She apparently has an unlimited doesn't have a drop-dead date.
Yeah, it
okay?
doesn't expire.
Doesn't expire, thank you. Our other member is Mr. Ethier, who has not been able to attend many meetings. And so Mr. Pickles and I have a suggestion so that there will be 3 active members on the commission at all times. Marietta would, of course, stay. Mr. Pickles has worked extensively with Mr. Menard, so he suggests that we appoint Mr. Menard. The appointment is a selectman's appointment. And I would suggest that we also put one of us on the board. We do actually have basically $700,000 worth of goodness because of this. We don't have to spend that money. So it's an important thing to be on top of. I'm glad that Mr. Slavin made me do more homework and more reading. He's laughing. So I don't know if I can put that in the form of a motion or...
Well, if we're going to vote to appoint, I prefer to have it noticed on an agenda, so why don't we hold off? Why don't you
Okay.
send me an email with what you want, and I'll get it on the next available
Okay.
agenda.
I'm not sure how we get the person who resigned off, because Mr. Pickles can't find a letter of her can't find his copy of the letter of resignation.
Well, we do have the charter requirement that if you miss 3 or more consecutive meetings, you're out. So I guess the question becomes then...
It's not a town committee.
But it isn't a town committee? So
Yeah.
how do we get somebody off who doesn't want to be on? Isn't that interesting?
She doesn't live in Wareham anymore.
I think that's all that's necessary.
That's an immediate disqualification right there. You can't represent the town if you move out.
That's
so
correct.
I don't think we need any further process.
But I think
Selectman
it needs to be
Slavin?
on the record.
One quick question. Do we have the updated contract through 2022, since this is all we have in town showing the addendum?
We will certainly get a copy of it for our records. If you have any questions at all, believe me, Marietta can answer
Good enough.
all of them. It's wonderful that somebody has actually been vigilant about keeping up with it. And thank you very much for making me do the work.
You're welcome.
He's a harsh taskmaster. What else do you have? You've been busy, obviously.
Yeah, I have. I want to again echo Mr. Slavin's thanks to Brenda Sampson and the other people who've been working on the articles for town meeting. It's a very arduous task, reading, rereading, proofreading, rereading, and rereading. The other report is that the next meeting of the cemetery commissioners is on this coming Monday. There's a fairly extensive agenda. I believe that at least one of the members is out of town. And I'm not sure whether the commissioners are going to be able to actually have the meeting, which has been a problem all along. Mr. Menard actually has needs that need to be funded. And so we really do need to be able to ensure that this commission does what it's supposed to do.
Okay. Thank you.
And I've spent a lot of time in our graveyards, and I continue to be embarrassed about the state of the town cemeteries, and there are 3 of them.
Okay. Thank you for your concerns. Selectman Slavin?
Very quickly, as I said before, the planning board met last night. They did vote to go ahead and hold public hearings on the TDR sign bylaw and the marijuana dispensary for the 21st of October. Also at that meeting, they are continuing the public hearing on the boat ramp redo by the state off of Cranberry Highway across from the Elks. And there's also a project at the end of Charlotte Furnace Road, and the particular facility there, the new business, that was also continued till I think it's 2 weeks from yesterday as well. So that hopefully will come through. That's it.
Okay, then. I guess we're done for the night. Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion so made.
Motion made by Selectman Slavins, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you very much. Have a good night.